Welcome to this first video in our journey to create structures for local pollinators. When we're starting our design thinking process, we need to start by understanding the problem we want to solve, but we will also want to understand our user. In classical design, we always think about our user as a fictional persona, as a fictional character or person, and we try to define who we are designing our product for. In this case, you can see here just a random person. It says Jonathan Patterson. He's 25 years old, male, single. He lives in any city. It has a little bit of information. Normally, when we're doing user persona, we want to know what is the personality of our user, possible user, what are his goals, his frustrations, and just to know more about the needs and the possible behavior of our possible client or our possible user. In this particular project that we are doing now, our final user won't be a person. It will be a pollinator or an animal. So instead of doing a user persona, I propose to do a user animal. I propose to do a user Animalia. Basically, it's like a user persona, but instead of focusing on a human being, we are going to be focusing on an animal. So in this case, I'm doing the user analysis for an opossum. Here you can see the scientific name, the Delphis marsupialis, and then I'm gonna add 5 very important things. The first one is basic information, what type of animal they are. In this case, my opossum, it's a nocturnal mammal. The habitat of this animal are forest edges, urban areas, gardens, and especially near human settlements. I grew up outside of the city. I grew up in a forest in Mexico, and I grew up with a lot of opossums. They were always hanging out at my compost, so they were always at night eating some of the food there, and they were very active at night. The second thing you will have to write and research are the needs. What are the needs of your animal, of your pollinator? In this case, my opossum is not a pollinator, but you will have to research what are the needs of the pollinator, okay? Needs in terms of shelter, food, and environment. So for example, for my opossum, he needs a safe, dark, and dry space to rest during the day, natural shelters such as hollow trees, dense bushes, or rock crevices, or artificial shelters like crawl spaces, sheds, nesting boxes. You also have to think about the food, what do they like to eat, and what is the environment they are moving on. Remember that for this activity, you might design a shelter, but you also might design a feeder, maybe something for a bird to drink water. So it's important to know what they eat so you can also design accordingly. Then, very important, the third thing we have to research are the threats. In the case of the opossum, are like natural threats such as predators like dogs, large birds, and snakes, exposure to extreme weather, road traffic, etc. The fourth thing you have to research is the size. That's very important when we get to actually create the dimensions of our product. In the case of my opossum, I need to know the weight. If I'm gonna do something that is gonna be hanging, I need to make sure that it's going to be able to hold our opossums. And the adult weight can reach from 0.8 to 2.5 kilos, and the size is from 35 to 55 centimeters in body length, with a tail that is nearly as long as that. And the fifth and last thing you have to add in your user Animalia is the behavior, okay? So what is the behavior? How do they, or what are some of the common behaviors that they show? With the opossum is, for example, they move slowly and cautiously. They like to climb well, and they also use trees when available. One very important thing about opossums is that they play dead. It's also called thanatosis. Basically, when they feel threatened, they just play dead, and they just fake that they stay there without moving. It's really fun to see. I don't think it's very fun for them, but I've seen them in the wild, and they just pretend they are dead and other things. Okay, so just to summarize, we are going to be analyzing our animals, and we're going to be researching these 5 things: basic information, the needs of your animal, the threats, the size, and the behavior. Now, you don't have to use this template. I'm going to show you here on Canva. If you go to Canva, if you go to your home and look for templates, you can look for a user persona. You're going to get a lot of templates, so please use the template that you like the most. In this case, we have presentations, but for example, here we have a good example, so you can use this template for your user, for your user Animalia. You can use this other template, okay? And then you can write down all your research of this animal. So basically, we're doing a portrait of the animal. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments, and I will see you on the next video.